This is a family owned and operated business. You're stepping up to the plate to help out. Is there a burden of legacy there? Is there some pressure there? Talk to me about what that feels like making that transition there.
Yeah, there's definitely pressure. There's definitely an expectation, especially when you're running a business that's been in business for going on 65 years. That's a long time. That's spanning off four generations, and not just us as a family, but just the customers as well. They have an expectation when they come into this is it, and hey, I want this food to taste like just like how it did in 1987. And those are the expectations that you have to live up to, and those are the things that we preach consistently to our staff, is that hey, this stuff has to be consistent because our legacy depends on it.
Welcome back to the Hospitality Hacks Pro podcast, where we talk to people in and around culinary arts and hospitality, learning more about them, their journey in the industry, where they began, where they are now, and what they have going on. I feel like I say this every week, but today is a very special guest. I always enjoy hearing people's stories. I had the opportunity to meet this gentleman recently, going into his restaurant, had an amazing meal. And I had to pull him to the side and say, "Hey, man, what's up? Let's get you on the podcast." So if you would, Mr. Wesley, go ahead, take 60 seconds, introduce the people, tell them who you are, where you're from, and how did you start in the industry?
Hi. Okay. Great. Thank you, Ms. Tasha, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be able to be on different opportunities and different platforms like that to give our story. We do have a huge story here at This Is It, and we love explaining it, and we love giving people the history of our restaurant. But on a personal level, my name is Thaddeus Wesley. I'm from Houston, Texas. Born and raised. Went to college at Prairie View A&M University. Graduated there in 5 years. Got my degree in biology. And I started off in the medical field, and my family, they were kind of looking for some help to help, kind of carry on the legacy of This Is It. And I stopped everything I was doing in the healthcare field, and I ended up bouncing over into the restaurant industry. And I'm still learning as the days go by. And that was 5 years ago. Probably it'll be 5 years ago to the date, or to the month actually, that I've been in the restaurant industry, and I don't regret not one move yet. So, like I said, it's an honor to be here. I can't wait, and I'm excited to tell our story.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's an interesting transition. I meet people from that have come from all different types of fields and backgrounds. I myself went to school for mass media arts, which is completely 100%
Mhm.
unrelated to the industry
Thank you.
whatsoever. But it just always, the industry always called me back. So
Mhm.
tell me, before you jumped into the medical field, had you spent any time in the restaurant previously, or no?
No, I was honestly, I was one of those people, not talking down to anybody's profession, but when I was coming up in high school and college, I was like, I would never step foot in a restaurant, run a restaurant. I didn't have that desire, I didn't have that passion. And I didn't, I mean, not even on an entrepreneurial standpoint. I kind of had to groom myself to kind of be, to think business minded, because everything was healthcare. I mean, I was always, even from a young child, my dream was to become a doctor, and to do those kind of things. So it was different. I had no idea that I would be where I am at the age of 32. As engulfed in the business that I am. It's different. Helping out family. Every other weekend, but it's different when you're the main person in there. You got the range going, and you kind of controlling everything. So it's a huge difference. But like I said, I don't regret anything right now.
Okay. So let me tell you this, because I don't know if I shared with you, but I work with a lot of young people day to day. I think we did talk about it, because I believe you said you had a family member that was a teacher as well in culinary, right?
Yes, yes, that's my wife. She's actually a
Your wife.
culinary arts teacher. So, yeah, go
Yeah.
figure. So
Okay.
yeah, so she does a lot with kids, and does a lot with educating
Hmm.
them, about the enjoyment of food, and also the health and the safety precautions that you need to take when you are preparing food. So yeah, she's engulfed in it too.
Right, right. And so you've probably heard her maybe share with you or tell stories about kids kind of trying to find their way, figure out what they want to do. Maybe they're in class because they like to eat, but they don't even know necessarily if they want to be in the industry. But take me back, let's rewind just a little bit. What drew you um kind of originally to the medical field? I'm interested. Was it a person? Was it sometimes we get inspired by like TV shows or things that happen around us? What drew you to that field originally?
To be honest, it was my experiences with the doctors. It was with my pediatrician rather, because, like I said, it was something that started from a young age for me. I had to be like at least 9 or 10 when I realized, hey, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. So it was just those experiences going to the doctor, and just personally experiencing positive things with my doctor, and just him showing that he cares, him showing that the compassion to little kids. I didn't want to be a pediatrician, but I knew that I wanted to be in the healthcare realm in some way, shape, form, or facet. So I did that, and it got me to where I was, and like I said, then I made a switch. So
Mhm, mhm. Now, do you find any parallels or similarities between, like, anything you experienced or learned while you were studying that particular vein of medical field, and then now looking at, hospitality industry? Is there any parallels there for you?
definitely, I think the biggest key is just the health component of it all. There's no different than a SPD team cleaning, and sterilizing surgical instruments versus our dishwashers in the back washing dishes correctly. All that stuff is paramount, and all that stuff is exactly where the success of either the hospital or the restaurant starts. Because if you're serving out dirty stuff off dirty dishes, then obviously that's contamination. Obviously, people get sick, and it's not anything different from the healthcare field. So that was probably the biggest thing the biggest important piece that I noticed, when making that switch is, hey, we got to keep stuff clean, and we got to keep people healthy, and we have to abide by protocols.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely, no doubt. We were talking about contaminants today in class. I'm like, yeah, it can go anywhere. Those symptoms can go anywhere from diarrhea, vomiting to like you can
And it
kill
could,
somebody.
yeah, and it could be the smallest thing, the naive cook or the home chef, they could, all right, I'm gonna make some fish, and then next day I'm gonna make some fajitas. But if they don't wash whatever they were using the next day, that's contamination. And not to call anybody nasty, but I'm sure that happens uh, often more than not, in the United States. So,
Mhm.
that's just some kind of things that kind of come with the territory with that. We always got to be health conscious when we're working in the kitchen.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
Mhm.
So, talk to me about. I use it's kind of an overused word, so at the risk of sounding kind of, I won't say cliche, but this word legacy, right? So this is a family owned and operated business. You're stepping up to the plate to help out. Is there a burden of legacy there? Is there some pressure there? Talk to me about what that feels like making that transition there.
Yeah, there's definitely pressure. There's definitely an expectation, especially when you're running a business that's been in business for going on 65 years. That's a long time. That's spanning off 4 generations, and not just us as a family, but just the customers as well. They have an expectation when they come into this is it, and hey, I want this food to taste like just like how I did in 1987. And those are the expectations that you have to live up to, and those are the things that we preach consistently to our staff, is that, hey, this stuff has to be consistent because our legacy depends on it. A lot of stuff can go wrong, and as soon as that stuff goes wrong, they look at us as like, hey, well, this is it. They didn't live up to what they were supposed to live up to, and that's a stressor. Not to say that we aren't doing it, obviously, because we're still successful and we're still in business today, but that's definitely a key role for me to be sure that I do take everything with heart, and I'll be sure that I'm doing the right things and I'm doing it the right way, because there is legacy tied to it, and there is a standard that me, my brother-in-law, my wife, even my father-in-law, we still have to meet that standard. So legacy is huge. It's important to what we're doing today.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I can dig that. So I'm also curious about kind of sometimes working with family can be a little tricky. It can be a little, to say the least, right? So I got my start in the industry really at a family owned barbecue spot.
Okay.
Second cousin owned it, and then before him, his father started, owned and operated with a partner, and now they're on generation number 3, right? And so in kind of dipping my toe into that experience and getting a start there, sometimes it can be a little sticky, it can be a little tricky, right? Tell me about like the hierarchy of the family dynamic. Is it like this person, this is your area, this is what you do, I don't touch it? Like, how do you keep those lines from being blurred? How do you stay out of those kind of sticky situations where it could get personal?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely. And that's, you said the first thing. It's personal. You have to take personal out of business, and that's one thing that I feel like we do very well, because of, regardless of who it is or what's going on, if something happens, something's not done right, then hey, you have to hold accountability, and that's on anybody, and that trickles down to everybody else, and then that's from the top up, and it trickles down. So you have that accountability piece that kind of holds everybody in place, but also you have to know everybody's strength and everybody's weaknesses, and also you have to reach people where they are in their life. Like our father-in-law, or my father-in-law, obviously he's the pillar of this restaurant. He's still living, still alive, still works, still comes in almost every day, and that's fine. But I wouldn't have him cooking, and I wouldn't have him doing kind of the, I guess you would say, the strong man work, because he's a little older. I want to, I want him to be able to see some of the growth that we have growing. So no, I don't have him coming in cooking, and no, I don't have him doing all these other things. But there are other things as well that my father-in-law does exceptionally well. So you put him in front of a camera. Hey, he can be my spokesman. He knows all the history about the business. He knows what to do, how to do it, and he has that charisma to be our, I guess you would say, spokesperson, or whatever you would want to say. So we have him kind of in that role, and where I take on more of the COO, day-to-day operations kind of thing, and my brother-in-law helps along with me with that. So it's all about knowing what person is good at what strengths are, and also understanding that, hey, my brother-in-law might not be able to do what I can do, and vice versa, and we have to have an understanding with that. And when that understanding comes down, then we don't have any issues. We had a one of our main cooks who's been cooking there for about 40, almost 50 years, and that's what it seems like. But she's
Wow.
been there
Wow.
for, yeah, she's been there for a minute.
Wow.
um
Okay.
and this was her first Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving, that she wasn't here to do the bulk of the cooking. So I know my brother-in-law's assets, and I know my own. So we come together and be like, hey bro, this, I'm gonna do this, you're gonna do that, woo woo woo, and everything goes out fine, and it's not like we missed a beat. So you have to be in tune with each other. You have to accept each other's flaws in the family, and then you also have to be willing to grow with those people. You have to be willing to, like, say to your cousins or your aunties or whoever's in the business with you, it's like, hey, these are the things that we want to do right. These are the things that we're not doing right, and we have to be able to bridge that gap. And if everybody's in tune with that, then we have to bridge the gap, and everything can be successful. So that's kind of where we keep our head at when it goes in the family. Because yeah, there are going to be instances, when people bump heads, but at the end of the day, it's family. So you can either say what you need to say, speak your piece, and then move on and grow. Because at the end of the day, we don't have time to time to diddle daddle and be angry and hold grudges when we have a business to run. And I
Hmm.
think everybody, we have a good understanding of that. Because I'm not gonna say everything's perfect, with
Hmm.
what we do, but we do have an understanding that something happens. All right, it happened. All right, it's on to the next day. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Have you ever run into an instance where you need a tiebreaker? Like it's like, hey, we can't figure this thing out. Who's
Mhm.
gonna come in and just make the executive kind of decision on something?
Uh, that doesn't happen often because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's pretty much on the same page
Mm-hmm.
as far as how we want to run stuff. But for the most part, if it ever comes down to that case, then I get my father-in-law to come step in, or my wife, who who's a part of the business but isn't. But like I said, she's a teacher, so she's not there all the time. Then we
Mm-hmm.
pull them in and be like, hey, this is the situation that we have. This is what's going on. How do you feel about it? And then we talk, and then we converse, and then we come up with a plan. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how we handle that.
Solid, solid. Okay. Now you mentioned you have a member of your team that's been there decades. Sounds like 40 plus years or
Yeah.
so.
Hmm.
How do you, when we cook, right, culturally, we do a little dab, a little dash, a
Hmm.
little, we let the ancestors guide us with that.
Hmm.
So how do you, speaking from the restaurateur perspective, how do you maintain that consistency from day to day? Do you have a plan in place? Because I know I'm thinking of the restaurants, the operators that I talk to, the operators who are in a similar situation. Maybe they have team members that have been there. They do it the same way that they do it every time. So if they're gone, right, or if they have a somebody else step in, how do you have a plan in place to maintain that consistency of flavor and standard of cooking and food quality and things of that nature?
We do actually. We have, obviously we have cookbooks in store. They have a step by step, of what's supposed to be going down, how much even down to how much water you need to put in the pot. Everything's systemized, and that's something that's new. We didn't normally do that, but we're trying to expand to another location,
Mm-hmm.
or to have two locations, and we understand that that's the most important key factors. Food has to be the same at both locations. So, over this past year, we've been putting stuff in place to where everybody, whoever comes in behind us, whether it's me, my brother-in-law, somebody in the kitchen that we need to hurry up and get somebody to do something. It's a handbook that's written there, and it explains pretty much everything that you do step by step. And that's how it is, and that's how it goes. So and that works. That works. I feel like, if you can't follow directions, you probably don't need to be working in the kitchen anyway. So
True.
whoever we have back there, they're competent enough to understand, like, hey, this is what we need you to do, and this is the quality that we expect it to be when it's done. And that helps us out a lot. Now, yeah, and I have the tendency to do this as well. But you're absolutely right when you talk about those ancestors. The lady name is Gladys Jackson, who cooks for us. She doesn't use any measuring items. Doesn't use none of that. But everything comes out on point. And as you cook over time, it's just like riding a bike. You secondhand. What needs to be done. If you got to move your right foot, then hey, I know I got to move my right foot for this pedal. So if I need to use, hey, this needs a pinch of salt, this needs that. It's like riding a bike. So sometimes I don't even look at the workbook, to be honest with you. I'm just going off the flow, and it comes with practice, and it comes with time. But it definitely comes with taste. You got to taste your food for sure.
Yeah, that is key. That is
Hmm.
key. And that's funny you say that because I tell my kids that too. If the recipe says season to taste, and
Hmm.
I'm like, hey, did you put salt and pepper? Did you put,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, how does it taste? I don't know.
Yeah, you
Well,
got
hey,
you
grab that fork.
Yeah, you got to be able to taste it. You know what I just say? Ain't no such thing as a skinny chef. So you gotta be able to taste your food, and know what and know what you're expecting when you taste it. Because just like how you taste that food, it's gonna be, the customer's going to taste it too. So if it tastes salty at one point, then hey, that customer's going to taste the salty macaroni. So those are the things that have to be, being concept and being aligned when you do those things. Okay. So
Mm-hmm. Factual, factual. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to speak specifically to somebody right now.
yeah, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
I'm a, I'm gonna use you a little bit. So
Hmm.
I want you to speak specifically to your fellow restaurateur who might be in maybe two steps behind you. All right. So I know you say y'all are looking to expand to additional location. So we've been trying to systematize, get recipes in place, utilize that, kind of get some operating procedures in place, right? So the restaurateur who's maybe two steps behind you that says, man, I think that's a good idea. I would love to franchise, or I would love to expand and have an additional location. What would you tell them are the first couple of steps that maybe you've already taken that will get them moving in the right direction? Right. That you, any advice you could give to that chef or to that operator?
Obviously, the first advice that I would probably give them, and it's definitely a soul searcher, but it's the truth. But you have to be sure that you have a brand that'll be able to multiply and grow like how you plan on it. I feel like, especially with everybody starting to open up businesses and wanting to be successful, they rush into something and it doesn't stick, it doesn't last, or there's issues with their partnership with somebody, or anything along those lines. But you have to make sure that your brand is solid and that you know your brand. Like I said, I've been in here 5 years, but going to the door, my main goal was, okay, I understand this is it, has been around, for as long as it has been. I was a faithful customer before I married into the family, so I know where the brand is. So that's taken care of. But my next step is to, how can I grow this brand? So if you don't have a brand, and if you don't have something that appeases to the customers automatically, then it might not be the time for that. So you really have to kind of dig deep and really say, okay, is this the right move for me? Is this going to put more risk on me than it would grow me? And it's easy things to look at that. Like for me, we got a line out the door almost every Sunday. That to me, that says that, okay, if people are flocking, and then it's not like we're in, by a busy freeway, or a busy interstate. We're in the middle of third ward in the hood, and people are still coming to come see us. So that lets me know, hey, this can work in another outlet, you know, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to open up an outlet where we live in Humble slash Atascocita, which is kind of like Northeast Houston, and there's nothing remotely close to what we have. Probably the closest thing to quality soul food. I mean, this is gonna be funny to you, but it's probably Cracker Barrel, or Golden Corral, and that's
Mm,
probably it. So then you have to look at, that piece. All right, so if I am going to expand, if I am going to open up another location, I have to be specific about where it's going to be. I have to do my research on where it's going to be, because if not, you're just doing it as a hobby, and that's not a guarantee. Win. Whatever step you wanted to do, you want it to be a guarantee win. You want to step into that that lease or that ownership and be like, hey, when I know, when I put my brand in here, it's going to skyrocket. And you have to have that confidence with it, but you also have to have proof that it will do that. So that takes, to my third step. I mean, that takes, digging into your finances, seeing if you
mm,
can actually do that. Because a lot of people, they go off the whim. Yeah, I want to do it. I'm a dreamer. I got it. But you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy when you could have just waited, 2 to 3 or 5 more years and let yourself grow, or instead expand too early, and you don't have your financials and your books correctly, and now you sitting out there with your pants down.
mm-hmm,
So it's a lot of stuff that you got to work into, but like I said, the main thing is making sure you have that brand, and making sure, uh and I'm sorry, one more piece. The last
go
thing
ahead.
you
It's
have
good
to
stuff.
no, I mean, because it's good stuff, because I'm living it right now. Like I said,
Mm-hmm,
it's not like I've been in a restaurant game this whole time and I've run X amount of. No, I'm learning on the fly just like everybody else. So all the
mm-hmm,
information that I'm telling you is stuff that I've lived. Stuff that I do now. I wake up every day. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today? But it's all common sense. If you
mm-hmm,
understand common sense, and if you understand just a little bit of business, it'll take you a long way. But I think my last piece that has to be said about that is about expanding is you have to be committed.
mm,
You have to be committed to what you're going to start. So if you're starting a 5-year lease, you're starting a 10-year lease, you have to understand that, hey, for the next 5 years or the next 10 years or 15, whatever, I have to be committed to this. And if that's something that you can't be committed to, then you really got to look yourself in the mirror. So you really got to do some soul searching when it comes to this kind of stuff and this kind of growth.
Man, that's so much good sauce right there.
Yeah,
Uh
we living
yeah.
it, man. We're
Yeah,
living it.
it's spoke on branding, having some clarity,
Mhm,
and digging into those financials, making sure it makes
mhm.
sense financially,
That's
for
key.
the long term, not
Mhm,
just waking up on a whim, but looking, hey, 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years
mhm.
out. That's some good stuff. That's some good
Yeah,
stuff
for
right
sure.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So we're looking to expand. What else is kind of on the horizon, for This Is It? What else do you have in mind to kind of steer the direction of the restaurant?
A lot actually. I wish I had more time in the day to kind of knock out some of the things that I need to take care of. But like I said, that one growth piece is a lot right now. Because of kind of the strategy that we have in place. If this first restaurant works out, well, this next restaurant works out, and we're able to grow, we're able to be successful. I'm anticipating that we'll be able to be successful very fast. Then then we just start exploring major franchising opportunities. We have I have several friends and several different type of investors that hey, whenever y'all start, let me know. Whenever y'all do your thing, let me know. And I always tell them, like, let me. I want y'all to be a part, but let me do the ins and outs, of this, because I wouldn't want to be y'all to come into something and I don't totally know what I'm doing yet. So I don't want to bring y'all and then we both looking confused. Let me figure out how to franchise it myself. And then once all those ducks in a row, then hey, then y'all come on, let's everybody make some money. But
Mhm.
that's definitely the plan. It's definitely growth within the next 5 to 10 years, with multiple locations. We want to branch out to Austin, maybe Dallas, San
Okay.
Antonio. So because we have a I would probably say a good 25 to 30% of our customer bases are from out of town, and
Mm.
that's huge. We are
Mhm.
a tourist. I mean, we're a Houston staple, but at the same time, we are we're a tourist attraction. When people they hear the movie Jason's Lyric and they see the different things that we do throughout the community and on TV. It's people make it a point. We've had people. I think the farthest somebody has come is from where were they? I think they were from Denmark. Yeah, they were from Denmark, and they flew all the way from Houston, all the way from Denmark to Houston, and it was like, yo, yeah, we want to visit Houston, but we primarily came here to try you guys' food, and that speaks volume. So
Mhm.
like I said, my whole ideation behind everything is to grow it to its maximum potential. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna push the envelope. We're gonna try different things. We're gonna expand, and then we're gonna expand till we can't anymore. So that's where we're looking at.
Ooh, grow it to its maximum potential. That might have to be the title of this episode. I like that.
Yep.
Maximum potential.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff. And I gotta say, when I visited for the first time, not maybe a month and a half, or time is escaping me, but not long ago, um, coming from Charlotte, we came to the area, said, let's Google where should we go? And y'all popped right up.
Hmm.
And we came and the line was out the door. Just
Hmm.
like you said, I think it was a Sunday because we were heading
Yeah, I
back
believe
home
it was a
soon.
Sunday. Hmm.
Yeah, line was out the door, but the line moved quick. Food
Hmm.
was good, on point. Everyone was friendly. It was just a good atmosphere overall. You came and sat with us. We was like, yeah, let's
Hmm.
come talk to us. Came and sat with like that's the kind of vibe, that's the atmosphere that I love to be a part of when I go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And that friendliness, the interaction, all that is part of the experience of
It,
dining
it,
out.
it is, and it's a part of the food too. You're from the South. You're from Charlotte. You understand what Southern hospitality really is. When people walk through the door and when people come to our restaurant, that's what they expect. They expect smiling faces. They expect friendly faces. They expect good food. They expect a good atmosphere. They expect good music on the radio. All those things, are things that they expect. So, it would it's not like hey, we're doing this just as some extra. No, that's the standard. That's the standard that that our customers expect, and that's a standard that we as a management team and as an ownership team, that's what we expect, because that's what we know what makes a successful business. And especially the business that we're in. I like to tell my staff members, man, y'all gotta have that Chick-fil-A attitude every day, because that'll take you to the next level. It, you've been to Chick-fil-A before. I'm sure you've had better chicken nuggets, better, lemonade. I'm sure you had better of all that somewhere down the line. But what gets people and why their line is always out the door is because of service.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of service, and it's because the service is fast. You
Mm-hmm.
might see a Chick-fil-A line wrapped around the building, but where you're getting in line, you see it only takes like 5-10 minutes to place your order. That's not bad,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what keeps people coming back. So it's definitely important.
Then they hit you with that my pleasure on the end,
Hmm.
and
And then
you
they come
believe it.
back. Yeah, and then they come back. You see it even through this podcast. You see it. You see your success by the response of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If the food's bad, if the food nasty, then hey, nobody's gonna be in line. But if you're doing the right things, if you're taking care of what you're supposed to be taking care of, you'll get opportunities like how we've been able to get opportunities for the past 60 plus years, and it's something that we don't take for granted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good stuff, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hospitality is my cornerstone. The service piece is my cornerstone. Food is super important, but I think the service is equally as important. So I'm glad you spoke to that. I'm not gonna hold you any longer. I just want you to take us out by telling the people, if they're in the Houston area, passing through or coming through, how do they find you? If they want to follow you, I don't know if you're on social or any of that good stuff. How do they connect with This Is It to see what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. If you're in the Houston area, please, Houston, this is it. You could just type it in Google, Yahoo, Bing, search, just type it in. We're gonna pop up. If not the number one restaurant, soul food restaurant in the city, we're definitely in the top three for sure. But you look at it, you look us up. We're on Instagram, Houston underscore this is it. Facebook is Houston, this is it. Um, our TikTok videos are hilarious. We try to reach out to our younger customer base, and we try to do funny videos, and we try to keep up with the time. So definitely check out our TikTok too. That's Houston underscore this is it. And whenever you touch down in Houston, man, you gotta come. You gotta come to Jason's Lyrics home, man. You got to get some of this good soul food. We're gonna send you back to wherever you come from, nice and full.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you once again. We appreciate you. Y'all know, if you've been watching or you follow me, you know I don't co-sign everybody. If something ain't good, I'll tell you, needs a little work. But had a chance to visit and really love what you guys are doing there. Looking forward to watching from the sidelines and seeing the expansion and staying in touch. And if there's anything I could
Sure.
do to help, I don't know what you may need coming up in the future, but I'm definitely here for you guys. And I like to stay in touch with the guests. So let's keep in touch. I'm gonna follow you on social.
For sure, for sure. Follow us on social. That's the easiest way to do it. But then
Mm-hmm.
also, we can exchange our personal information, and then we'll do some stuff. Because honestly, we want to get a podcast started. To be honest with you, we feel like we want to kind of touch on the same things that you're touching about. Because I don't think there's. I'm sure there's people out there that's doing podcasts on like actual restaurants that do podcasts. But I feel like it'll be something different for us, and especially for the city of Houston, if we have our own podcast and we bring in some of our very special guests and our distinguished guests, and kind of sit down and have this conversation with them too. So I might be picking your brain for some of that stuff, but
Anytime.
definitely, yeah, any black business, we want to feed off each other. So if there's anything that we can do as well, Ms. Tasha, please just let us know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go for it, man. The space is wide open. It's time to run in the podcast space. So I say go
I know
for
that.
it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much once again. Y'all go ahead, follow This Is It if you're in Houston or passing through. Try that food, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Hospitality Hacks Pro Podcast.